I want you to picture something in your mind for a second. Just imagine a massive cavernous building.
Like one of those huge distribution centers you see off the highway.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of sprawling industrial facility that is entirely responsible for getting your online orders to your doorstep in exactly 2 days.
Right, the modern marvels of commerce.
Right. And from the outside, it looks like this incredibly sleek, highly efficient machine stretching on for acres. But if you actually step inside the doors, despite its massive architectural size, it's actually suffocating.
Oh, totally. It's organized chaos.
Or just chaos, honestly. It's gridlocked, the aisles are cramped, forklifts are just, waiting on each other to pass. Fundamentally, the whole operation is failing.
It is a really fascinating paradox when you see it up close. I mean, you have these colossal structures that are somehow, against all logic, running out of room.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And it's not because they lack physical cubic space, but because they are entirely mismanaging the space they are already leasing. They're just drowning in their own inventory.
Which brings us directly to the focus of our deep dive today. We are looking into this hidden revolution happening right now inside the high-velocity logistics hubs of Southern California.
Specifically zooming in on the Ontario Ranch and Mira Loma corridors.
Exactly. And to understand what's happening inside those walls, we're synthesizing a stack of internal documents, strategic plans, some blog posts, and press releases.
Which all come from Southwest Warehouse Solutions, right?
Yeah.
Or SWWS.
Yeah, SWWS. They are a premier material handling equipment supplier and warehouse consultant, and they're headquartered right there in Drupa Valley, California.
Which is such a critical location. I mean, that specific region is essentially the beating heart of the West Coast supply chain.
Oh, for sure.
A massive percentage of literally everything arriving from the Pacific ports flows through those exact corridors before it heads out to the rest of the country.
So SWWS, because of their location and their expertise, they have a front row seat to this crisis.
And it truly is a crisis of space.
Yeah, they're watching companies either adapt to the new reality of Southern California real estate or literally just run themselves out of business.
It's adapt or die, basically.
Right. So our mission today is to uncover how the most successful warehouses are fighting what the industry calls the invisible efficiency gap.
I love that term.
It's very descriptive.
Yeah.
We're going to explore how they're transitioning from being these static, unorganized storage boxes into dynamic, highly automated growth engines.
It's a huge shift.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can talk about the high-tech robotics or the massive steel structures, we really have to understand the existential financial threat that's forcing logistics managers to completely rethink their physical footprint in the first place.
Yeah, and it really all comes down to the brutal reality of real estate economics in the Inland Empire right now.
Right, because land isn't cheap anymore.
Not at all. I mean, for decades, the traditional business model in warehousing was incredibly simple, right? It was horizontal expansion.
Just buy more dirt.
Exactly. Land was relatively cheap. If your business grew and you ran out of room, you simply bought the empty dirt lot next door and poured more concrete. Or you just leased a bigger box down the street.
You just kept sprawling outward into the desert.
Yeah, but you can't do that anymore. In places like Ontario Ranch and Mira Loma, industrial land is now at an extreme premium.
We're talking historic highs, right?
Eye-watering highs. That traditional model of buying more land to build a wider, flatter box is completely dead. Expanding your square footage is now this grueling, cost-prohibitive financial liability.
You simply can't afford the ground beneath your feet to spread out anymore.
No, which creates this phenomenon the sources call the invisible efficiency gap.
Right. So I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a facility manager for a moment. You look at your blueprint, and you are paying top-tier SoCal lease rates on this gigantic footprint. But when you actually walk out onto the floor, your team is cramped. And the reason is that you're paying rent for the total volume of the building, like a ceiling that might be 30 or 40 feet high. But you're only utilizing the bottom 6 to 8 feet of air.
Because that's where your standard forklift can easily reach.
Exactly.
You're essentially paying massive utility and lease bills to heat, cool, and rent empty air. Every single cubic foot of dead air above your racks is actively eroding your return on investment.
It's exactly like, think of it like renting a massive, beautiful 3-story mansion, but you're only living on the first floor because you never bothered to buy a staircase.
That is a great way to put it.
You're paying a premium for all this open space above your head while you're simultaneously tripping over your own furniture on the ground floor.
What's fascinating here is how Southwest Warehouse Solutions shift the entire paradigm to solve this exact bottleneck. They completely changed the goal line for warehouse operators. Well, the objective is no longer about acquiring more square footage. The new objective is strategically lowering your cost per pallet position through verticality.
Okay, that makes sense.
And to measure this, they introduce a critical modern metric that completely replaces the idea of square footage. It's called cubic velocity.
Cubic velocity, I like that. So since building out into the desert is no longer financially viable, the only logical step to increase that cubic velocity is to build up.
Right. You have to finally capture that dead air in the mansion.
But you obviously can't just, stack heavy wooden pallets on top of each other until they touch the ceiling.
Oh, no. The
Yeah.
bottom pallets would instantly crush under the weight. It would be a disaster.
Right, so that brings us to the actual anatomy of densification. The skeletal system of any warehouse is its pallet racking.
Yeah, and selecting the right racking isn't just about flipping through a catalog and buying metal shelves.
It's way more complex than that.
It's a highly mathematical, strategic decision based entirely on your SKU density.
And for those unfamiliar, SKU stands for stock keeping unit. It basically refers to the number of unique individual product types you carry.
Exactly. And the sources break down a few specific types of racking that SWWS provides. And the underlying physics of how they function is honestly really clever.
Let's look at selective racking first. This is the standard system most people picture, right?
Yeah, you have 100% access to every single pallet at any given time.
Which is great if your SKU density is incredibly high. Like if you have thousands of different items and you might need any one of them at a moment's notice.
But the mechanical trade-off is severe. To get that access, you need a wide driving aisle for a forklift between every single row of racks.
So your overall storage density is quite low.
Right, because half of your building's volume is literally just empty driving lanes.
So what if you have a lower SKU density? Say you have 50 pallets of the exact same flat screen television. You don't need instant access to all 50 at once, right?
Exactly. You only need access to the one at the very front. That's when you transition to something like pushback racking.
Oh, explain the mechanics of pushback because it sounds like a massive space saver.
It really is. It operates on a last-in, first-out basis, or LIFO. Instead of pallets sitting on static, stationary steel beams, they sit on a series of nested wheeled carts that run on rails pitched at a slight incline.
Okay, so imagine a forklift driving up to the rack to load a new pallet.
Right, and as it places the pallet into the slot, the machine physically pushes the existing pallets back up that inclined rail.
So the forklift is providing the initial force.
Yes. And here is where the physics do the work for you. When a worker comes to retrieve a pallet and lifts it out, gravity takes over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the entire line of nested carts naturally and smoothly glides forward down the incline, delivering the very next pallet perfectly to the front picking position.
That's brilliant.
By using this gravity-fed system, you can store pallets anywhere from 2 to 6 deep. You massively increase your storage density because you eliminate all those extra driving aisles.
You're literally letting gravity do the organizational heavy lifting.
Precisely.
And then for the really awkward inventory, the sources detail cantilever racking.
Yeah, cantilever is interesting. This design drops the front vertical frame entirely. Instead, it relies on a massive, heavy-duty central column with strong steel arms extending outward.
So by removing the front barriers, you can store incredibly long, bulky items that just won't fit on a standard 48-inch pallet.
Exactly. Things like long lumber, industrial piping, oversized furniture.
But regardless of whether you use selective, pushback, or cantilever, the sources emphasize a critical reality about the sheer physical forces at play here.
Oh, yeah. When you start building up, storing thousands of pounds of goods 30 feet in the air, the structural integrity of your seal is literally everything.
SWWS actually operates on a core philosophy detailed in their documents. They say, nothing dictates quality of performance as well as the equipment you use.
Because an industrial operation running at high velocity is only as reliable as its weakest link. If a rack buckles, the entire facility stops.
Which is exactly why they partner with premier manufacturers like Fraser for heavy-duty structural racking.
There's a profound difference in the industry between lighter roll-formed steel, which is basically just cold steel bent into shape, and hot-rolled structural steel.
Structural racking is specifically engineered with much thicker steel profiles to withstand the brutal high-impact demands of a modern 24/7 industrial hub.
Right. I mean, a forklift bumping into a roll-formed rack could cause a catastrophic collapse. Structural steel is designed to absorb those everyday industrial impacts.
The sources also highlight unique setups like tube rack. Instead of using traditional open-back steel columns, tube rack uses enclosed tubular steel.
And the physics behind a closed tube means it provides significantly higher resistance to torsion and twisting.
Which translates to better overall capacity and stability as you build higher into the air.
So they're securing the vertical skeleton. But SWWS also does something fascinating with the floor space itself. They don't just build shelves. They literally elevate the floor by installing mezzanines.
Which means you can effectively double your usable footprint within the exact same building foundation.
Exactly. They detail structural mezzanines, which are these heavy-duty, freestanding steel platforms that create a completely new, usable second floor.
So you could put your administrative offices up there, or a whole new sorting department.
Yep. Then there are rack-supported mezzanines where the heavy-duty pallet racking itself acts as the structural foundation holding up the second floor walking surface.
Oh, that's smart. You add in catwalks and specific elevated work platforms, and suddenly you have captured all that dead air without the massive capital expenditure of pouring a new concrete foundation down the street.
It is an incredibly efficient use of existing capital. You're getting a larger building without actually leasing a larger building.
But hold on, let me push back on the strategy for a second.
Sure.
If you just build a massive rack-supported mezzanine, effectively doubling your floor space, and then you stack everything 6 pallets deep using those gravity-fed pushback rack, aren't you just moving the bottleneck higher up? Because it sounds like an absolute organizational nightmare. You've doubled the total amount of stuff squeezed into the same square footage, so now your human workers have twice as much inventory to sort through, but they're trying to do it 30 feet in the air.
That is a crucial observation, and it's the exact operational breaking point that many traditional facilities hit when they try to expand.
So how do they fix it?
Well, yes, vertical density creates immense operational complexity. Manual human labor simply cannot scale to manage that intense level of three-dimensional density.
Right. Humans have limits.
If you're relying on people walking up and down steel catwalks with paper clipboards, trying to find a specific barcode among thousands of densely packed shelves, manual picking becomes a terminal bottleneck.
Your error rates will skyrocket, and your order fulfillment speed will just crash.
Exactly. Because manual labor breaks down at that height, structural densification absolutely must be paired with automation.
Okay. So you can't just build the steel skeleton. You have to install a brain to run it.
Precisely. The transition to what the industry calls the smart warehouse requires a digital central nervous system.
Which is the warehouse management system, or WMS?
Right. Before a single robot or forklift moves, the WMS acts like an omniscient air traffic controller.
So it tracks the exact location of every single item.
It coordinates every movement to prevent traffic jams on the floor, and crucially, it prevents shrinkage, which is industry jargon for lost, misplaced, or stolen goods.
So if the WMS is the air traffic controller telling the facility what needs to happen, what is the physical muscle actually moving those goods at high speeds?
The heavy lifting is handled by automated storage and retrieval systems, often called ASRS and vertical lift modules, or VLMs.
Oh, VLMs. SWWS partners with a leading automation company called Modula to provide these VLMs, right?
Yes, and the mechanics of these machines are incredible. Picture a massive enclosed steel tower reaching all the way to the ceiling, operating essentially like a high-density automated filing cabinet.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the introduction of this specific robotic technology represents a massive pedagogical shift in how warehouses fundamentally operate.
It really does. It's the transition to the goods-to-person model.
Which changes everything.
Completely. Historically, warehouse operations relied on the person-to-goods model. The human worker had to physically travel to wherever the inventory lived.
Right. They walked miles of aisles, searched the shelves, grabbed the item, and walked all the way back to the packing station.
It was physically exhausting and incredibly slow.
But with a machine like a VLM, the operator never moves.
Nope. They stand perfectly still at an ergonomic workstation at the base of the tower. When an order comes in, the WMS brain tells the VLM muscle what it needs.
And then inside the enclosed tower, a high-speed central elevator shoots up, finds the exact tray holding the required part, pulls it out of its storage slot, and delivers it smoothly downward directly into the operator's hands at waist height.
It completely flips the workflow. It drastically reduces human picking errors because the machine only presents the correct tray.
And it slashes retrieval time from minutes to mere seconds.
Right. And crucially, it eliminates worker fatigue because they aren't walking 5 miles on concrete floors every single shift.
Which is huge. The automation muscle goes beyond just vertical towers, too. The documents mention pallet shuttles.
Oh yeah, shuttles are very cool.
Instead of a human driving a forklift deep into a dark lane of racking to grab a pallet, you place a low-profile, battery-powered robotic shuttle on the rails beneath the pallets.
So the forklift just drops a pallet at the very front of the lane, and the robotic shuttle zips under it, lifts it up, and drives it deep into the storage rack at high speed.
And for smaller goods, they utilize horizontal industrial carousels.
Imagine a massive, motorized oval track loaded with suspended storage bins. Instead of walking down an aisle, the operator stands at the end of the track, and the carousel rapidly spins to bring the exact bin they need right to the front.
It is literally turning the warehouse into an interconnected, high-speed machine.
It really is.
But I have to imagine, if you're a logistics manager listening to this, the idea of ripping out all your traditional shelves to install spinning carousels and robot elevators is terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't just halt all your shipping operations for 6 months to rebuild your facility from scratch.
Which is exactly why Southwest Warehouse Solutions heavily emphasizes the hybrid approach.
It's a massive point of relief for business operators.
How does that work?
Well, you do not have to shut down your entire facility, lose millions in downtime, and automate everything overnight. SWWS specializes in integrating these advanced robotic systems seamlessly into your existing manual environment.
So it's entirely scalable based on your budget and needs? Exactly. You phase the technology in, targeting your most painful operational bottlenecks first.
Okay, give me an example.
For example, maybe your bulk pallet storage is fine, but your team sorting tiny individual screws or electronic parts is making constant picking errors. You can leave your manual pallet racking untouched and just install one modular VLM specifically in the small part sorting area to immediately solve that specific error rate.
You integrate the muscle where it hurts the most.
Exactly.
So if I'm picturing this correctly, we have secured the heavy-duty Fraser steel skeleton, maximizing our cubic velocity all the way to the ceiling.
Right.
We have the WMS air traffic controller running the flow, and we have automated muscle like VLMs and pallet shuttles doing the heavy lifting. We are fully modernized and ready to dominate the two-day shipping game.
Well, not quite yet.
Oh.
Because remember where we are. In Southern California, none of this impressive technology matters if the earth shakes. Technology and steel are completely useless without a legal and structural foundation.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because in the Ontario Ranch and Mira Loma area, seismic engineering isn't just some administrative box you check on a local permit form. You're operating in Seismic Zone 4.
Yeah, the engineering is a critical, uncompromising liability shield.
The stakes are incredibly high. If you do not meet the highly stringent local seismic codes of the Inland Empire, the municipalities simply will not grant you a high pile storage permit.
And without that specific piece of paper, your vertical space is legally useless.
You could spend millions of dollars buying the best racking and the fastest automation on the planet, but if the city inspectors don't see the complex math proving it can survive an earthquake, you legally cannot put inventory on the racks you bought.
They become nothing more than very expensive, useless steel sculptures.
It's exactly like buying a multi-million-dollar Ferrari, but you aren't legally allowed to drive it off the dealership lot because you forgot to install the seatbelts and you don't actually have a driver's license.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The speed and potential are there, but you are completely grounded. To get that license to operate at vertical capacity, SWWS ensures a facility clears 4 distinct sequential engineering hurdles before a single wrench is turned or a single rack is installed.
It's a chain reaction of compliance.
It's bad.
Let's walk through how that sequence works. It all starts with physical footprint, right? The facility layout design?
Yeah, you can't even think about the seismic math until you have mapped out the physical layout to optimize the movement of personnel and equipment.
You have to prove on paper that your new automated design isn't going to create massive forklift traffic jams on the floor.
Right, and once the traffic flow is set and optimized, then you hit the heavy math. Seismic engineering.
This is where specialized engineers calculate the immense dynamic forces of a major earthquake against the weight of your stored goods.
They mathematically prove that your structural racks won't buckle or collapse, protecting both the human lives working below and the incredibly valuable inventory you are holding.
But solving that seismic puzzle immediately creates a new problem. As you cram more dense steel and inventory into the building to maximize that cubic velocity, did you just inadvertently block the fire doors?
And that is the third hurdle. emergency egress design.
You have to guarantee to the fire marshal that your dense storage configuration never compromises life safety exit paths in the event of an emergency.
And only when all three of those designs, layout, seismic math, and fire egress, are perfectly synchronized, can you tackle the final hurdle.
Which is permit management.
Right. Navigating the highly complex, specific local regulations of the Ontario Ranch municipalities is a specialized skill.
Because if you try to do it yourself and get the paperwork wrong, you face costly construction delays, legal injunctions, or massive municipal fines.
It's just not worth the risk.
So we have finally built the structure, we have automated the flow with our WMS, and we have successfully shielded the whole operation from earthquakes and local regulator.
We did it.
But there is one more vital layer to this ecosystem that the documents cover. How do we protect the facility's most valuable assets on a daily basis?
Meaning, how do you protect the actual human beings on the floor and the high-value inventory they handle?
Exactly.
Well, that brings us to the concept of human-machine synergy.
Which is an important concept.
It really is. There's a pervasive public misconception that industrial automation is solely about replacing the human workforce with robots.
Right, taking jobs away.
Yeah, but in a truly optimized modern facility, automation doesn't replace humans. It empowers them. It removes the dangerous back-breaking labor and allows people to operate high-level systems safely.
But to achieve that synergy, you have to design the physical space to protect them from the machines.
Exactly. And the sources detail an approach called inventory integrity.
Which is about strategically segmenting the dangerous parts of the space from the vulnerable parts. For example, they utilize driver cages, provided by a partner called Handle It.
Think about the daily chaos of a massive warehouse loading dock. You have dozens of outside delivery truck drivers constantly walking into the building to drop off paperwork, ask for directions, or use the restroom.
Right, and a driver cage is a secure, enclosed, wire waiting area built right at the loading dock door.
So the moment a visiting driver steps inside the building, they are secured in that cage.
It keeps them safe and physically prevents them from accidentally wandering into an active high-speed forklift lane while looking for the office.
It protects the visitor, and it protects your forklift operator from a catastrophic accident.
The documents also detail wire partitions and specialized wine lockers. If your facility is storing highly sensitive or high-value goods like expensive electronics, pharmaceuticals, or high-end alcohol, you can't just leave them sitting on an open pallet where anyone can walk away with them.
But you also can't just build a solid drywall room around them.
Why not?
Well, solid walls block the HVAC airflow and prevent the overhead fire sprinklers from reaching the goods. Wire partitions physically secure the inventory to prevent shrinkage, but the open mesh maintains the necessary airflow, lighting, and visual line of sight required for safety and climate control.
Oh, that makes total sense. Alongside securing the inventory, they focus heavily on active personnel protection. When you're moving goods 30 feet in the air, things occasionally fall.
Inevitably.
So SWWS utilizes heavy-duty safety netting from a partner called Incord. This netting is strung along the back of the racks to catch falling debris, loose boxes, or pallets before they can plummet and hit a worker walking in the aisle below.
And for the workers who are operating those newly installed automated systems, SWWS integrates ergonomic workstations from Boston Tech.
Which is absolutely vital.
Oh yeah. If your new modular VLM is fast enough to deliver a heavy tray of parts to a worker every 10 seconds, but that worker has to bend over awkwardly or reach uncomfortably to grab it, they're going to be fatigued and potentially injured within a week.
The Boston Tech workstations are highly adjustable, ensuring the station physically fits the individual worker, which drastically reduces fatigue and maintains high throughput for the entire 12-hour shift.
All of these elements, the structural steel, the robotics, the engineering, the safety cages, bring it all together to what SWWS calls their end-to-end value proposition.
They aren't just a vendor dropping a forklift off at your loading dock or mailing you a pile of steel beams and wishing you good luck putting them together.
No, they act as a single point of accountability for the entire transformation. They handle the facility layout design, the heavy seismic engineering, the local permit navigation, the project management of the actual build, the integration of the robotics into your software, and even long-term on-site rack repair.
They really cover it all.
This raises an important question. If you are a logistics executive, an operations director, or a facility manager listening to this right now, you really have to evaluate the daily reality of your own operation.
Are you actively working smarter, utilizing cubic velocity, or are you just pushing your team to work harder in a cramped, outdated, mathematically broken space?
Because in fiercely competitive real estate markets like Ontario Ranch, working harder in a broken system is financially unsustainable. You will simply bleed capital until you fold.
And if you're listening to this, nodding your head, realizing that you are currently stuck inside that invisible efficiency gap, this is exactly the transition Southwest Warehouse Solutions handles.
Yeah.
Their website, subleywwarehouseSolutions.com-SAC, actually breaks down precisely how they execute this end-to-end process, specifically for the Mira Loma and Ontario Ranch corridors, right down to navigating the local seismic codes.
You can also check out their Google business profile to see their track record and map location in Drupa Valley.
If you need to talk to them, you can reach them at 951-360-7087. They really do offer the comprehensive expertise needed to guide a facility through this massive transition from start to finish.
It's a huge undertaking, but it's necessary.
Let's look back at the journey we've taken today. We started by confronting the reality of the invisible efficiency gap, the fact that historic SoCal lease rates make spreading outward impossible, forcing operations to measure their ultimate success in cubic velocity rather than square feet.
From there, we explored the physics of densification. We learned how to build upward safely, utilizing heavy-duty Fraser's structural steel, gravity-fed pushback racks, and smart, rack-supported mezzanines to capture dead air without pouring new foundations.
Because manual labor breaks down at those heights, we explored the absolute necessity of transitioning to a smart warehouse. We saw how a digital warehouse management system coordinates advanced high-speed robotic muscle like modular VLMs and pallet shuttles, shifting the industry entirely to the goods-to-person model.
And finally, we grounded all of that high-tech ambition in the gritty, highly regulated reality of Southern California. We established how critical it is to build a liability shield through rigorous seismic engineering, life safety egress design, and the active personnel protection integrated by SWWS to ensure that humans and machines can work synergistically.
So what does this all mean? The next time you sit on your couch, tap buy on your phone, and a package magically appears on your front porch 48 hours later, remember that seamless consumer experience doesn't happen by accident.
Not all.
It relies entirely on this hidden, incredibly complex symphony of heavy-duty steel, advanced software, robotic muscle, and highly specific structural engineering happening right now inside the walls of Southern California's logistics hubs.
It truly is the invisible physical infrastructure holding up our modern digital economy.
It really is. But looking at all of this leaves me with one final thought, something for you to ponder as we wrap up today's deep dive. We've talked extensively about how industrial land is so incredibly expensive that logistics companies are being forced to build upward. And to manage that vertical height, they are increasingly relying on robotic, goods-to-person, automated systems to handle the immense density.
Right.
If this is where the industry is today, trying to squeeze every ounce of efficiency out of a 40-foot ceiling, what happens in a decade? Will the warehouse of the future eventually evolve beyond a traditional building entirely?
That's a wild thought.
Imagine a fully automated, human-free, vertical skyscraper rising out of the Inland Empire. A towering, windowless monolith, essentially a giant robotic vending machine for the global supply chain, humming quietly in the desert, perfectly optimized for maximum density. What is the ultimate physical limit of cubic velocity? Until next time, keep digging deeper.